Okay, everyone. I'm gonna try something new today. Because I unfortunately lost my audio for the video itself, for my own voice. The game is fine, but my own voice got muted. I decided to try something new, and that is to give almost like a director's cut, sort of like commentary during this video.
Who are you?
To go alongside this video and to hopefully explain to you what I wasn't able to record and have remain in the video itself. I'm going to talk about the fight, I'm going to talk about like how I was feeling, what my thoughts and my intentions were, and what makes this fight so special. This guy is Hozumi, as he's explaining right now, and he is, as they said, the Yatagarasu insurance for when things go bad. And as we know, this is near the end of the game, and we need to stop Fig, and therefore things have gone bad. However, we obviously don't like his very corporate style, and we're concerned that he wouldn't necessarily go about things the way we wish. So Fig here is going to choose to ask him to stay out of it.
Stay out of this, outsider.
This fight is very interesting. It's very unique in certain ways. He does use a sword instead of most characters that use a gun. Like Iron Mask and Ash and all that. But more interestingly, if you try and hit him, any one of his demons, all of his demons,
You vultures
that
didn't care about accountability before. Sounds more like you're just swooping in now that
are
you
in
get
battle at
something
that
out of
moment,
That's how the world
will
works.
try and fight back. Will attack you. Will counter you.
Look, Hozumi,
So going for him directly, even though that's how you end the fight, is when he is out, is not really a valid strategy.
I'd be happy to work with you.
So
It doesn't matter whether
instead,
you're on
we
the
need to
Yatagarasu
incorporate
side or
some
the
other
Phantom
skills
Society
that
side.
we've been gaining over the
Oh, no.
course of the game in order
The
to help
sides are the
get
whole
our goal.
reason the violence never stops.
And this is where,
You
in
have
particular,
no idea
the
what you're
commander
talking about.
skill,
And if you don't even
damage
understand
condenser,
that, I can't let you go to
was
Fig.
most useful for me throughout this entire fight.
So then,
You didn't hear me the first time? I want you outsiders out of this. We're stopping Fig ourselves.
well now, how about you, Ara? Remember that opposing me means opposing the will of Yatagarasu, casting aside your whole purpose and the civilians of Japan you fought for.
I don't need orders to tell me what my purpose is here.
So I see.
So now that the introductions are getting out of the way,
That's all I
we can
needed
start
to hear.
talking about the fight.
Well, I could use a warm-up. Couldn't hurt to get some experience against a lesser agent of Ion. Fine then. You clearly have some noble ideals. Let's test them.
So in this fight, he will start with a Kuchu Lane and a Cerberus.
You're not my priority target, so
Kuchu Lane is
I
weak
won't
to
waste my
electric and
energy.
dark.
My reserves
Cerberus is,
seems to be
as you
all
can
I
imagine,
need
weak
for a
to
cleanup
ice.
job.
That is going to be very useful knowledge, not just for any fight, but particularly for this fight, in order to get our stack up. Because stack damage is the
You know
vast
what to
way
do.
that we,
Alright.
as this condensers you're showing,
Scanning
going to be able to do damage to.
Process complete.
You know what to do.
Fine. I'll get serious.
Fortunately, we have Ringo, and her affinity to electric means that we can stack that as well. Again, here, Mavufadine will be able to get bonus stack by hitting ice, as well as do a little bit of chip damage, which, you know, over the course of the fight probably does amount up to at least 500, something substantial damage.
What do you think?
We could Mufadine here, but I think Roar is better. He does like to buff his team quite a lot.
You never
And
dreamt.
buffing our own
Don't
team
be a
isn't
hero.
Your turn, Sizo.
bad either.
This side. Let's finish this. Let the
So that's about 500, 400 damage every time we can proc that onto him. Right now, that wasn't very much damage, but it is incredible just how much damage these enemies can do. That was only 100, 200, whatever. They can hit for 500 plus. Presumably because those buffs he's applying is just so effective.
What's our opener?
Yeah, good
There's
plan.
not really much of a reason for it. Maybe because of a static Anaguma as well. The combination of the raw and the static Anaguma makes a huge difference. And maybe I should have leaned into that more.
What's
Yeah,
our
good
opener?
plan. This ought to do it.
So now we're gonna go with the stack optimization for our commander skill. For more damage. The fight is separated out into phases depending on how much health Hozumi has left, like a lot of the fights in this game.
What are you thinking?
You know
So
what
at first, he's only going to have these two out. Later, that's going to change. You can repel physical attacks with that ability,
Race to the
that ability from Dekarabia.
There.
There's a really nasty move that I am not looking forward to from Kuchulain, which can almost certainly kill anyone.
Let's see you handle this.
So getting rid of them as quickly as possible is definitely going to help, especially given our mana is a big limiting factor. At the moment we have 300 and 400, but towards the end of the fight
You
we're
know
going to be
what to
running.
do.
Looks like it'll work. Just try it.
Getting rid of our first one is good, but the thing is, it's kind of not as good in this fight as it is other fights, because you kind of want,
Be on your guard.
especially Kuchulain and one of the other ones, to be in the fight so that you can take advantage of the
What are you
weaknesses.
thinking?
Because by taking advantage of the weaknesses, you do the most damage to Hozumi
On
with the stat. You can just go in with Boost here, it's fine.
This ought to be good.
We've done our buff already. And we got the turn extension for it too.
Nice. Here I come.
Thinking a little bit here.
Dance.
let the rebels begin.
I found that I think, you notice that he also does agitating. So they each of them have a few moves to
Think you
bounce
can beat
between.
this?
However,
Strong.
All right.
Be on your guard.
That'll work.
Right there, Ringo.
there is one of the demons that he has that's going to be quite predictable and quite irritating.
We gotta
Okay.
win this. No matter
It's
what.
all you.
Do your thing, Melody.
I know. You like that?
Damn.
Shall we?
It's all you. Get him, Saizo.
For now, we'll just bounce between the two demons and do stack damage to Hozumi. And get to the latter parts of the fight.
You know what to do.
What can you do?
Of course, that's one of the more obvious
Let the
edits
rebels
that I've
begin.
made. Not all of them are easy to be seamless. I try to be as seamless as I can, both with the music
But I'm
and
on a
the audio
strict
and the
deadline.
visuals.
How about we speed
But
this up?
yeah, not always can do, unfortunately. Especially if there's like different
See you
phases,
handle this.
like going from no stack to several stacks, as you saw.
I'll show you.
So now he brings in Titania. And Titania is a real pain in this fight because of what she does. And she doesn't actually
what to
attack
do.
you,
This
but she
will
does
turn the
way worse.
tables.
We have Condenser back on the line, so we can always go back to Hozumi here.
Scanning hostiles. Process.
She resists, if not repels, most elemental damage, so all we can do really against her effectively is physical. However, as I said, Kuchulain is weak to electric and dark,
Get down a notch.
so that will still allow us to get these stacks.
We're fine.
That should
I'll
be
get
the trick.
serious.
Just wait.
So, as we've been stating and explaining, this fight is done by gradually tearing away at Hozume's health through stack damage. The last thing you want to see is ways to append that. Taking quite a bit of time over
Careful what you
deciding what I
choose,
want to
Arrow.
do here.
Make the call, Arrow.
Eat this.
Sometimes
They're strong.
Let's finish
Gotta
this.
try.
Just try it.
Let's turn up the voltage. Love to see it.
Let the rebels begin.
the Kuchulain is still alive, but is he still powerless? No, he's not. Thankfully, the auto guard kicked in.
I think I need to use this.
Here's Garimakala. That thing knows Megaton Press and Mazandine, which is really interesting because it's weak to Force. So there's its first really annoying trick, the Macrocon. Now, I could have definitely, if I had not succeeded earlier, choose to play against the Macrocon quite heavily. And by that I mean the Mabufadine there on his Kudlak. I'm pretty sure Kudlak absorbs ice. He could easily, instead of doing this, one of the things I could have done better in this fight is to simply just AoE Mabufadine. Get the repels off, because the repels will activate. They will trigger ice damage back at Arrow. He won't take any damage because he drains it. And then the Macrocons are gone for the rest of the turn. That's probably a better way of dealing with that nonsense than what I did, but, you know.
Clean this up.
This is Mazandine. Now all 4 of his demons are in play. And if you try and kill any of his demons, as you've noticed, possibly, he will summon any of them immediately. There it is! There's the Meijirama. The absolutely hateful Meijirama. So you're basically working against the clock, both with your own mana to get the fight done before you run out, but also to over-damage and out-damage the heals that Titania will do every 2 turns. Her only moves, effectively, in this fight, the only thing she does is Macrocarn and then Meijirama. Back and back and back. So obviously the Meijirama turns are easier to do damage in, but you're already having to make up for the damage that was lost from the heal. Fortunately, leading up to this fight, I was able to bag a pretty cool buff to the commander skills of Ringo from Katara, which was the reduce cooldown for all commander skills perk. That's really powerful, especially when you want to make sure that you get as many turns in with damage condenser and stack optimization. Sometimes it can be a little too much, but at least you have them available. She only gets +1. She doesn't get +2. Okay. I was questioning that. There's a 16. It's funny the difference. When you have Static Rokanaguma and you have obviously the other buff as well, like no damage is taken. It's crazy.
Here's a test
for a big deal. You can't use that every time. We're gonna want to need it later.
What a waste!
I won't play nice.
So yeah, I would advise, if you're struggling with this fight, to definitely boot up something, one of your demons that's active, with an AoE of an element that you drain. So that you can, hopefully on your fastest character, which is usually going to be either Saizo or Ringo, and then use that AoE to wipe off the Macrocon so you can go in.
That should do the trick.
Cover me.
Then use our own heals. They're starting to do way more damage than the 100 or 200 they were doing at the beginning of the fight.
Help me out here. Got you covered, Saizo.
I'm just choosing to do this because I'm not really dealing with the Macrocon.
Shall we?
And like I say, I could have definitely done better with that.
How's this?
There.
But it's worth it if he's going to take only that much damage off. Haha! Nice.
Here's a test for
There's no real reason why he missed. I mean, I guess we are buffed on dodge.
you. Handle this.
I guess that did trigger.
There.
And the funny thing about him being weak to what he does, and then Saizo repels it, does damage to him, but doesn't really do that much. These are obviously nice perks, but you can never rely on them because they're incredibly random. I wish this game had a way to improve the frequency or reliability of those perks coming into play.
Ready for elimination.
Because sometimes they can be absolutely useless, and you're like, why? Why this turn?
Go for it, Ringo.
I hear you.
Nice paralysis prop. I'm gonna try again.
Promising.
For some reason, Girmakala is much more resistant to paralysis than Kuchulain seems to be. And that seems to be the cost of the game. Like, certain demons have certain kinds of weaknesses on their elements that they succumb to.
Should have just getting started.
Give that a try.
Fenrir, was it? Was incredibly susceptible. And maybe even Old Dogs, because I think Cerberus is pretty susceptible to it as well. You'll find it happen. Fate. Fenrir was incredibly susceptible on our lead up to this play.
All yours, Saizo. Sounds good to me.
Actually, no, Fenrir comes a little after this. But still, when you fight that thing, make sure to try and faint. There's 661, which is way better than 350, because it's always a flat 350 that we have to deal with. Ah! We have our buff on the evasion still. Really effective in this fight. It hasn't been effective really that much throughout the game, but this fight it definitely came in clutch.
Here's a test for you.
Doing his buffs as he likes to do, because his team's all up. Thankfully, they don't have any way to cure status elements. That's pretty nice.
Let's change this up.
That's coming in again. Saizo is way lower on his mana, and he usually has some of the least mana in the game anyway.
Nothing dead, Melody.
Whatever it takes.
We've got time.
Right.
Let's do this by the
Either
book.
at the time. I'd say Mabufudine's fine here, unless it's a Macrocon. And again, like I say, the drain element.
Straight through.
I guess I get the crit off
We've got
that.
time.
Nice.
Let's do this by
Get
the
some
book.
stack.
Take your position.
I won't let you finish this.
Yeah, I'm awfully passive these turns. And if I just chose to use that strategy, I only came up with later, it would have been much better. Because Macrocon is only a one-time deal. Not for the rest of the time. There's the Thane I was talking about.
Let's see you handle this. I need to talk. Here's a test for you. I need to talk.
What are you doing?
You got nothing on me.
So there's very little point, for several reasons,
Let's go about this.
to ever try and knock out a demon. Unless you're planning to knock out more than one at once.
You know the drill.
Try and do you proud.
Don't
Because you want to use them as ways to generate stacks. And they're going to come back immediately next turn anyway, which will deflect the turn, but that's an awful lot of work just to reduce Hozumi
This ought to
by
do
one
it.
turn.
Go ahead, Ringo.
This ought to do it.
Go for it, Ringo.
Good plan, Arrow. Right on target.
This ought to do it.
Like that?
Give that a try.
That works.
So yeah, I was actually wrong in my thinking. I was wondering if Melody had a buff to do physical damage when it's a weakness, but she doesn't. So actually this is just as powerful, if not more powerful, because she's better at doing magic damage.
You say so.
Dire over regular attack.
Name Iron.
There are a lot of things to think about. And it's unfortunate that in that moment, when you're in the stack itself, or the Sabbath, I should say, itself, you can't have access to your value. Like, it would be so much more useful to make that decision,
Here's a test for you.
and sometimes I might actually regret the decision I make between choosing Dekarabia's or, Yoshitsune's. That's really fortunate that he chooses to do that. I wish I could make him do that more. Physical attack thing that he tells. But if we could see our stats during the Sabbath and then be able to make the choice during that, this is now starting to think about that strategy. By using Zidane, which I know she generates value off of, so that I can hit Kuchi Lane.
Here goes.
But then I don't go ahead with it in the Math Bufadine. Maybe I forgot that
This might
Kudla
show you.
actually absorbs ice, because I'm pretty sure he does. Anyway, Hozumi's in the red now.
How's this?
We're starting to get to the end of
Still
it.
with me?
Looks like it'll work.
That works.
There's constant
Here's
tug of
some
war. You know?
punishment. Love to see it.
That means I can go in with this,
Too late for regrets now.
shield off. But again, 71 is really not good enough. That's a peculiar angle that we got there. Because he's targeting Saizo. See that 600 damage? It's a crazy amount. And remember we were talking about at the beginning of the fight when we were only doing 100 and there was that 16? You can go from 16 to 600 in a single attack. Depending on what the stats are and everything. It's nutty.
Who won't lose?
Back out of the red.
Let's change this up. I
Try
wish
all you want.
So we're gonna need a heal here.
on.
There's a lot of choices to make. And the damage condenser, if we're going to heal, that's gonna take a little bit off that. So that's why I'm in an orange here.
Scanning hostile.
What's my balance between healing my own party and doing damage to him?
Remember to pace yourselves,
Done
everyone.
yet.
So you
Wait.
Choosing not to Meteorama him. Probably because Meteorama is
What's our
cheaper
opener?
for
yeah,
That's your
good
cue.
plan.
benefit.
Ringo,
No,
take them
actually
out.
no.
Go for the weak spot.
On.
This is very aggressive. Like, Saizo's less than half health, and I think so is Arrow.
Not bad. We're still with me.
So you.
Let's hope it pays off. It would be really nice, like here, to guarantee getting the Yoshitsune heal buff.
Okay, whatever.
Getting the Yoshitsune heal buff here would be really nice to get, but we can't
You know what
ensure
to
any
do.
of it.
Good idea.
Wait.
I wish there was a way to make that a little more, you know, usable.
Let the rebels.
Yep, we didn't get it.
Wait.
So we might be taking quite a bit of damage here. Six round strike, yeah, this thing is nuts. I only hit 3 times because it doesn't have particularly high accuracy, but that's 6 attacks of like 100 damage to 200 damage each. That could be up to 1200 damage. It's nuts.
Let's see you handle this.
I don't think anyone in the Senate has enough health for that. Maybe Arrow.
Here's a test for you.
I won't play nice.
Now we have to obviously revive Melody because we're in a pretty bad position right now. Which is why I actually should have healed last turn, but I wanted to use the damage condenser. Maybe a little greedy, but you have to sometimes.
This isn't going too well.
So instead we're going to really kill Saizo's remaining HP, sorry, MP, use half of his remaining MP, so that we can get ourselves back in the fight. But at least for the silver lining is that Hozumi is really close to dead. There's that 700 damage off a single Agidine. This is nutty. And obviously we can't have Ringo die because then we lose our commander skills. And I don't think we have anyone else on recon duty right now. So that's particularly scary, seeing Ringo so low in health.
That's
What a waste.
Let's see you handle this.
Like it isn't thankfully a leader assault like you get in like Persona, whereby, or even Shin Megami Tensei like Nahabino, whereby if Nahabino dies, then that's it, game over.
Initiating
But it's
Let's
almost that, given that you no longer have access to commander skills. Almost tantamount to the same thing a lot of the time.
Well,
Just use my shield deployment because, like I say, I really need some health back. Even though we got the ultra repair, which is a nice proc.
Good idea.
Go for the weak spot.
if you insist.
So get rid of him, which is not necessarily the best, but at least it takes a turn off Hozumi.
Dying
This
won't
isn't good.
achieve
And now we can't Yonga. Well, it can because Gurmakala is weak to it.
Let's turn up the voltage.
Fair enough. But that can definitely be a situation whereby, you know,
Don't miss
there's
now.
only one thing that's weak to a particular element,
Appreciate the advice.
and if you kill it, well, you no longer have access to making weakness of that element.
I know
Go
we can
time.
win this. Ooh, that
Finish them off, Saizo.
No problem.
Stack's pretty good here. probably kills Giramacala. And here's an interesting thing about this fight.
You must be hungry.
So we have both Giramacala and Kuchulain both incapacitated. Hozumi gets 2 turns.
Think you can
He
beat this?
summons Kuchulain, but he doesn't summon Giramacala. Basically, what I inferred from that was that the AI of Hozumi is not allowed to use both of his turns on summon. So if you can knock out more than one demon at a time, you can probably get to a position where you can knock out all his demons, even though that would take an awful lot of work. Probably not worth it. To then be able to go in unappended, unfettered, you know, whatever,
Just try it.
without any form of danger, to attack Hozumi straight up, if he doesn't have any demons to defend him.
Here goes.
Oh, they hurt. Supposed to hurt.
Let's go.
Man. Need that
How about this?
proc on the back.
The enemy's
Shall we?
desperate too. Stay focused.
But you see, like here, I can't use Xandine. I can't use Xandine because the only thing that would be weak to Xandine is now dead. Being the Giramacala.
Let the rebels begin.
So it doesn't actually help to kill the demons when you want them as your stack generation. That's something to think about. Most fights, yeah, kill them, then they don't come back. But when they come back like this every time, it's not worth killing them. And then not having access to be able to do damage to Hozumi because
This.
of this particular fight's layout whereby you can't just attack him directly without serious repercussion.
What are you doing?
It makes the fight very different to pretty much the rest of the game. Which is nice. Nice to have a different take on things.
Remember to pace yourselves, everyone.
Offer some originality.
Let's change this up.
Because it definitely, by this point in the game, the same thing happened with SMT5, which was why I didn't finish it. I start to get tired of the same old fight over and over again. Like, some people talk about Octopath Traveler and how long the fights are and how I can commiserate with that, as opposed to, like, complaining about the story, which is perfectly good. Yeah, the fights in SMT really drag on. And it's usually around about, like, the last chapter, last act of the game where I'm just had enough. It's why I just didn't finish SMT5. I got to the Ethereum, but I couldn't be bothered because, holy hell, I'm sick of it. Thankfully, in this game, that didn't feel as bad. And in part, that's because fights like this were so interesting and unique in how you had to go about them and use other things like Damage Condenser, which I basically never used, even when I had it, apart from this fight, which is more important for it than anything else. Because it's different, because I had to think in a different way. I really commend that. It's one of the reasons why beating this game wasn't as big a deal, wasn't as painful
this.
as not doing it with SMT.
Let's see you handle this. You got nothing on me. Clean this up.
Humility is getting very close, as is Ringo, to be fair. Do they just have weaker defense than the guys? It's possible. But even magic defense? I find it hard to believe.
We can play the long game. Here goes.
Man, he's so close. Crazy. You just feel like, oh, why not I just go in? But even that little bit of sliver of health probably represents like 600 or 500 or 400, something. It's more than you would give it credit for. It looks like he's just on a bare sliver. Like, just hit him a couple of times, pat him on the back, and he's gonna fall over. You know, like, it doesn't look like much, but kind of crazy just how much that actually
We need
represents.
to watch ourselves.
Another meter on because I absolutely cannot meter Rahan, otherwise I probably would, but I only have 27 mana remaining with Saizo.
It's all you.
Wait.
Out of my way.
Man, look at that. I mean, that was only 49, so it didn't really count, but like, wow. Maybe I should have gone in. I don't know. Six Realm Strike again. That's the move I'm scared about because it does so much. Even though, like I say, low accuracy. This time he isn't being repelled. Wasn't he repelled earlier in the fight by doing a physical ringer? Was that only because of Melody's dead now. That's not good. And here comes 350 health again. So I'm like, screw it. I'm running out of mana. Melody may be dead, but this is our chance. Let's just go in and see what happens. So instead of trying to be defensive, I stack optimization and hope for the best.
Go for the weak spot.
Sure thing, Saizo. Good hit.
This may not be the best strategy. Certainly not the safest strategy.
Let's see some action.
Yeah, this could work.
Nice try.
Cerberus is asleep, as well as Beginner Mikado.
Pace yourselves, everyone.
It's all you.
A little bit of insurance doesn't hurt.
Ready for takeoff? Bingo.
Here we go.
Let's
And
start
repel also.
dinner time.
327? And that's good! Whee! And I'm celebrating now. Took me a few goes to get this done.
Alright, I get it. Should know you guys were working with that kind of power.
Alright. So I'll leave you to watch the cutscene, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one, everyone.
Okay, you win. Maybe you're not all talk.
Then,
What? Waiting for an invitation? Go on. Go fix this. Ringo, emissary of Ion. What happens if you can't convince Fig? Are you gonna keep talking to her? Would you risk the entire world to save one friend?
If I can't get through to her, I'll do what I have to.
Don't forget those words.